You know, what he's done, I think he has more pressure than any athlete in North America.
Yeah.
More has been expected of him since 18 years old than any other single athlete.
He may only be a sophomore in high school, but LeBron James is already one of the most highly touted basketball players in the country.
More showtime. LeBron James soaring through the air as he jams it home.
Well, LeBron came in with this at 18 with Chosen One and King and monikers. It's really tough to live up to.
He's like the next Michael Jordan, so.
He was the chosen one as dubbed by Sports Illustrated.
You think about some of the greatest players ever to don a high school uniform.
Mass media skip from the time this kid was 15 years old was saying, here he is, the next one.
It was almost like playing in the NBA. People at our hotels, girls trying to get up to the room.
LeBron James, a name that will forever be immortalized in the game of basketball. From his intense demeanor to striving for nothing more than greatness, this man has proved himself time after time on why he should be considered as one of the greatest to ever play the game. But hey, this was very much expected, considering that by the time he became a sophomore in high school, he was already dubbed by Sports Illustrated as the next one, which at the time was a pretty bold statement to make for a kid that was just 16. But hey, it was just obvious. The kid was just that good, to the point where ESPN was broadcasting his games on pay-per-view back in 2003. But unfortunately for LeBron, not everybody felt the same way, with some of them even believing that LeBron would never live up to the hype, believing that the kid would drop down once he got into the league. But unfortunately for them, LeBron was able to prove them wrong and show them he was way more than just another high school star. Growing up in Akron, Ohio, LeBron and his mother found themselves in a constant struggle in his early years of life. His mother, a single teen mom at the time, found it difficult to find steady work and provide for her child, which caused the James to move from apartment to apartment in order to make ends meet. Although facing many hardships in her life, LeBron's mother Gloria always made sure her son was well taken care of by providing him food, shelter, and hand-me-down toys she would give to her young son. It wasn't a lot she can give him, but it was the best she could provide. Growing up in Ohio, LeBron was seen for the majority of his childhood playing on a small miniature plastic hoop his mother had gifted him. It wasn't anything fancy or new, but it was something that LeBron treasured forever. Ironically, once LeBron started playing organized sports, he chose to play Pee Wee football, where he excelled tremendously under the guidance of his Pee Wee coach, Frankie Walker. Coach Walker knew that LeBron had the potential to be a great athlete. That's why, when he started hearing whispers that LeBron was missing school on a regular basis, he knew he had to intervene. He offered LeBron's mom, Gloria James, to take in LeBron into his home to live with him and his family. LeBron's mom was hesitant at first, but she knew this was the best decision for her son. In the Walker household, LeBron received proper structure by doing household chores and doing well in school. And during this time, Coach Walker even taught LeBron how to play basketball, showing him how to shoot with his left and also teaching him the importance of playing team basketball. As LeBron continued playing basketball in the Walker household, his love for the game grew. He started playing on teams and enhancing his basketball skills day by day. By 6th grade, LeBron grew to about 6 feet tall, which was good because now he could play all 5 positions, which only helped him elevate his game even more. And during this time, LeBron and his pals formed their first AAU team, the Northeast Ohio Shooting Stars, that took the AAU scene by storm, making it all the way to the national championship in 1997. Their AAU success continued all throughout their middle school years, and once they got into high school, LeBron and his pals chose to stick together and played for St. Vincent St. Mary High School. As a freshman, LeBron averaged 21 points per game and 6.2 rebounds per game, where him and the Irish went on a 27-0 run all the way to the Division III state title. In his sophomore year, LeBron and St. Vincent began to collect traction by the media, to the point where their games had to be moved to the University of Akron in order to fit the huge amounts of crowds that wanted to see them play. In his second season with the Irish, LeBron averaged 25.2 points per game, 5.8 assists per game, and 7.2 rebounds per game. They once again finished as state champions, and LeBron was named Ohio's Mr. Basketball, and he was also selected for the USA Today All-USA First Team, becoming the first sophomore to do so. LeBron's stock was rising, to the point where both Sports Illustrated and Slam featured him on the cover of their magazines. The LeBron hype was real. In his junior season, LeBron averaged 29 points per game, 5.7 assists per game, 8.3 rebounds per game, and 3.3 steals per game. where again he was named Ohio's Mr. Basketball and became the first junior to be named Gatorade National Player of the Year. St. Vincent Mary finished the season with a 23-4 record, where they lost in the Division II state championship game. After his junior year, there was a lot of speculation regarding LeBron's next move, with some even believing that he would drop out of high school and enter the 2002 NBA draft, but that wasn't the case. LeBron came back his senior year and continued his dominance in the high school basketball scene. Only this time, St. Vincent St. Mary High School wasn't only playing in Ohio, they were playing in the whole country. St. Vincent Mary High School's popularity got so big that ESPN began to televise their games on national TV. Crazy, right? For his senior year, LeBron averaged 31.6 points per game, 4.6 assists per game, 9.6 rebounds per game, and 3.4 steals per game. He was once again named Ohio's Mr. Basketball for a third consecutive time. He was also named Gatorade National Player of the Year for a second consecutive time, and he was also invited to take part in the EA Sports Roundball Classic, the Jordan Capital Classic, and the McDonald's All-American game. After his senior year, LeBron made the decision to skip college and go straight to the NBA, which at the time was a no-brainer. The kid was on top of the world and he was for sure going to be the #1 pick in his draft class. But even with all LeBron's early success, there were still many doubters, believing that he would struggle once he got into the league. And these doubters weren't only sports analysts, but also fellow players themselves, saying that the hype on the kid was too much and that there was no way in hell that this kid could live up to the facade that the media had created. Well, they were in for a surprise. LeBron was selected with the #1 pick in the 2003 NBA draft by his hometown team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. In his first game with the Cavs, LeBron scored 25 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, and he also got 4 steals. Not a bad way to kick off your NBA career at just 18. For the season, LeBron was able to average 20.9 points per game, 5.9 assists per game, and 5.5 rebounds per game, which was enough for him to win that year's Rookie of the Year. The LeBron train was quickly rolling after his first season. The kid had arrived, but even after this amazing rookie season, there was still hate by people, with many saying, yeah, he won Rookie of the Year, but his team didn't make the playoffs, which, in my opinion, is a lot to ask considering that this is only his first season, but hey, I guess that's how it goes when you're a player like LeBron. And the following season, LeBron would explode and prove his critics wrong, even taking the Cavs all the way to the finals in 2007, where unfortunately for LeBron and the Cavs, they were swept by the Spurs. But it was in that playoff run where the world got to see the kid live up to the hype, beating teams left and right in the Eastern Conference. But the series that stood out the most was the series against the Detroit Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals, specifically Game 5, where LeBron went on a 25-point stretch where the Pistons had no answer on how to stop him defensively. LeBron finished the game with 48 points, 7 assists, and 9 rebounds, taking a 3-2 lead in the series as they headed back to Cleveland to finish the job. And to think LeBron was doing this all by the age of 22 was just insane. But again, after this run, the King was still hit with criticism, with people calling him too ball dominant and too predictable with his moves. But like always, LeBron canceled out the noise and continued doing him, which was win games and dominate his opponents. But unfortunately for him, his team in Cleveland wasn't the same. With losses to Orlando and Boston in 3 consecutive playoffs, LeBron called it quits in Cleveland and moved to South Beach. And if you thought LeBron had pressure when he got to Cleveland, moving to Miami and joining D-Wade and Chris Bosh elevated that to 100. His move to Miami made him public enemy #1 in the NBA, where the desire to see him lose was much greater than to see him win. And fortunately for fans, they got their wish on opening day, where the Heat got destroyed by the Boston Celtics. That first month for the Heat, they struggled when it came to getting consistent wins, but luckily for them, by the second month, they were able to change their luck and be the dominant force they were said to be. LeBron finished the season averaging 26.7 points per game, 7.0 assists per game, and 7.5 rebounds per game, helping the Heat reach the 2011 finals with ease. And there in the finals, they would match up against Dirk and the Dallas Mavericks. Miami were the clear favorites to win the series, and they showed that in Game 1, but as the series went on, the Mavs were able to knock down the Heat and win the series in 6. The media had a field day bashing LeBron left and right over the terrible performance in the finals, and who can blame them when the supposed messiah of the NBA couldn't handle guys like Jason Terry. And that's no knock on JT, but when you're looked at by people as the best player in the league, they expect you to dominate every single game and any player that's in front of you. And you can tell that this loss hurt LeBron, because in the next 2 seasons, he came back with a vengeance, winning back-to-back season league MVPs in 2012 and 2013. The Miami Heat was no longer the Big Three's team, it was now LeBron's team, with LeBron James leading them all the way to 2 consecutive final appearances where they matched up against a young OKC team in 2012 and an experienced San Antonio Spurs team in 2013. In both series, LeBron proved to be the best player, winning back-to-back finals MVP, but even with all that, LeBron still received a lot of backlash from people, saying that the only reason he won those chips was because of a lucky shot from Ray Allen, D-Wade taking over some games, and his teammates, well, playing good and doing their job. So yeah, I really don't know where all this LeBron hate was coming from. I guess some guys wanted to see LeBron go 1v5, I guess. But come on now guys, we all know that every legend that has ever won a chip has had great teammates to back him up. So this nonsense of him only winning winning because of his team is just ridiculous. In 2014, LeBron and the Heat made it all the way to the finals once again, but this time they fell short to the San Antonio Spurs. And although receiving his fair share of criticism for the loss, the San Antonio Spurs were just a better team, especially a young guard that held LeBron down on the defensive end and won that year's finals MVP. After that year, LeBron made the decision to return back to Cleveland and finish what he started. He was no longer the same kid that was when he left Cleveland. He was now in his ultimate maturity and was ready to get back on what he promised to do when he was drafted back in 2003. But there is just one problem. Ah yes, the Golden State Warriors, the team that literally came out of nowhere, who at the beginning of the 2014-15 season weren't even seen as title contenders, but boy did these guys put on a show, starting with the MVP Stephen Curry himself. Dude was just amazing, considering that just a few years ago Steph was almost out of the league due to many ankle injuries he received throughout his timeline in the NBA. But enough about Steph and the Warriors for now, this video is about LeBron. In LeBron's first season back with the Cavs, he averaged 25.3 points per game, 7.4 assists per game, and 6.0 rebounds per game. Numbers that were enough to win 53 games and end up with the second seed in the Eastern Conference. And like we've seen from LeBron before, he was able to reach the NBA Finals with ease, dominating every team that came his way in the Eastern Conference. But unfortunately for LeBron, his team couldn't stay healthy and they lost to the Warriors in the finals. But his performance alone gained him a lot of respect from his fellow peers and analysts. Taking the Warriors to 6 games while having Matthew Dellavedova as your second best player is some impressive stuff. In his second season with the Cavs, LeBron and his team were able to elevate their games and win 4 more games while finishing first in the Eastern Conference. But again, the Cavs were outshined by the Warriors as they finished their season with an NBA record of 73-9, with Steph Curry being named the first unanimous MVP of the season. The Warriors were now the ultimate favorites to win the chip, and it for sure looked like that when they were able to get a 3-1 lead over the Cavs in the finals. But unfortunately for the Warriors, they couldn't close out the deal, letting the Cavs come back and win the series in 7, with LeBron and Kyrie leading the Cavs with 3 consecutive wins where both players were just unguardable. LeBron ended up winning that year's Finals MVP and earning back the respect from all Cleveland natives as a young kid from Akron, Ohio finally completed his mission and brought a championship back to the city of Cleveland, which in my eyes was the focal point of LeBron exceeding the hype and being the player that many predicted he would be. And I know LeBron still won another chip with the Lakers 4 years after this, but this chip alone is the one that puts the final exclamation mark of LeBron exceeding the hype. Well guys, thanks again for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please be sure to drop a like down below, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.